What if I told you that right now, in this very moment, you're not actually drowning in life's problems? You're only drowning in 6 inches of water. Most of us spend our lives thrashing, panicking, fighting to control everything. Our careers, our relationships, our future. We believe that if we stop pushing for even a second, everything will collapse. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if the very act of trying to control life is what makes you feel out of control? What if the struggle you've been carrying isn't even necessary? This story is about a man who nearly drowned in a puddle. His journey will show you the most powerful shift you can make, moving from resistance to surrender, from fear to flow, from exhaustion to freedom. Listen closely, because the lesson in this story might just change the way you live your life. There was once a man who lived in constant struggle. Every day, his chest felt tight, as though life itself pressed down on him. He micromanaged every detail: his work, his relationships, his future. He feared that if he ever stopped holding the strings, everything would collapse. One night, after a particularly exhausting day, he had a dream. He found himself face down in water. Flailing, lungs burning, convinced he was drowning. Panic consumed him. He cried out for help, thrashing harder. Then he heard a whisper, "Stand up." Confused, he planted his hands on the ground and rose. The water was only 6 inches deep. He hadn't been drowning in water. He had been drowning in his own panic, his own mind. When he awoke, the dream haunted him. He began to see his life for what it truly was, a war room. His thoughts were soldiers marching endlessly. What if I lose this job? What if she leaves me? What if I never succeed? He noticed how his clinging shaped everything. He clung to circumstances, believing happiness depended on promotions, outcomes, and approval. He clung to identity, fiercely defending the fragile image of who he thought he was. He clung to the future, always pushing happiness into tomorrow. When I get there, then I'll finally be okay. But all this clinging only deepened his suffering. He wasn't living life. He was trying to manage it like a fragile machine that could collapse at any moment. One evening, restless and weary, the man wandered into a quiet park. There, beneath a wide oak tree, sat a traveler, an old soul with eyes both kind and piercing. The man sat beside him, burden spilling from his chest. He spoke of his anxieties, his endless efforts to control, his fear of falling apart. The traveler listened silently. Then he said, "You are like a man drowning in a puddle. You think the world depends on your control, but the same intelligence that beats your heart and turns the stars never asked for your management. You believe you are the central manager of life, but life has never needed your permission to unfold." The man frowned. "But if I don't control it, won't it all collapse?" The traveler shook his head gently. "Think of your body. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your cells renew without you. The same intelligence orchestrates the galaxies, and yet you exhaust yourself trying to micromanage tomorrow." The man sat in silence. Something in those words cracked open inside him. The letting go. In the days that followed, the man began experimenting. When anger arose, he let it move through him instead of weaving stories about it. When sadness visited, he felt its weight without resisting. When anxiety appeared, he stopped strategizing and simply breathed. At first it was terrifying, but slowly, he noticed a shift. Moments of stillness appeared between his thoughts. He saw how setbacks redirected him toward paths he never would have planned. He noticed synchronicities, perfect timing, chance meetings, opportunities arising without force. He was learning the first phase of surrender, resistance dissolution. He stopped fighting what had already arrived. Act 4, flow and creative partnership, 3 men. As resistance melted, he began to feel something new, an undercurrent of intelligence moving through him. Conversations flowed naturally when he stopped planning his responses. Decisions became effortless when he trusted what felt open rather than what seemed logical. He was no longer chasing opportunities. They were appearing before him. This was the second phase, flow recognition, and soon he reached the third, creative partnership. He discovered surrender wasn't passivity, it was power. His actions, aligned with life's momentum, carried more weight than all his years of desperate striving. People responded to him differently. Doors opened without force. He was no longer trying to wrestle life into submission. He was dancing with it. One morning, sitting quietly by the window, he asked, "Who is it that experiences all this?" He noticed his thoughts, but he wasn't his thoughts. He noticed his emotions, but he wasn't his emotions. He noticed his body, but even that was observed. What remained was pure awareness itself. The same awareness present in childhood, present now, present beyond every circumstance. He realized he was not a separate struggler in a hostile universe. He was the very consciousness in which the universe appeared. Surrender was no longer something he did, it was who he was. Closing, the return to the puddle. Final 2 years later, he told his story to others. He always began the same way. "I nearly drowned once. Not in a river, not in an ocean, but in 6 inches of water. I thought I was dying. I thought the world was against me. And then I stood up." He would smile, eyes shining. Surrender wasn't giving up control. It was realizing I never had control in the first place. Life was always flowing. I just needed to stop thrashing long enough to feel it carry me. And when people asked him how to begin, he gave the same answer every time. Stop fighting, trust the water, and stand up. Let's get these life-changing stories out to as many as possible by hitting like, subscribe, and comment. I would love to hear from you.